What unforgivable act by a celebrity did the public seem to forget too easily? Kurt Johnson, a billionaire, whose family ran SC Johnson, a home goods company, was taken into custody in March 2011 on charges of molestation. The billionaire, whose net worth was estimated to be $4.2 billion in 2019, avoided a 40-year prison sentence and was fined $6,000. Instead, he was sentenced to 3 months in prison. Johnson was spared not just a brief jail sentence but also a fine that little affected his wealth and the requirement to register as a sex offender. John Landis got 2 children and Vic Morrow killed while filming a segment of Twilight Zone the movie. He was breaking child labor laws by having them on set in the first place, and according to the kids' parents, never told them that they'd been near explosives or the helicopter. His next movie was Trading Places, which made him end, and he also directed Michael Jackson's Thriller video, so he was not criminally convicted and he did not take much of a hit to his career. It's weird how Roman Polanski drugged and anally raped a 13-year-old girl, then fled the country to avoid prison, and Hollywood basically said that's fine. It wasn't until 43 years later that the Motion Picture Academy finally expelled him after deciding child rape was no longer okay. But for decades Hollywood actors, industry executives, and award committees ignored the fact that he was a fugitive rapist and even signed letters of support for him. Michael Fassbender. In 2010, Fassbender's girlfriend Stunna Wynn Andrews accused Fassbender of 2 incidents in 2009, dragging her alongside a car and breaking her nose. News reports cited a court petition and a restraining order filed by Andrews. In the court filing, Andrews cited a hospital visit on November 29, 2009 to treat a twisted left ankle, blown out left kneecap, and a bursted ovarian cyst after the alleged incident with the car. Ezra Miller groomed a native girl since 12-year-old, and then not technically kidnapped her at age 18 for a fair bit of time. Right before that he freaked out in Hawaii and assaulted someone, and then after the native girl incident, got a harassment charge, and then burgled some alcohol from a neighbor's home. And then the Flash movie came out but everyone had forgotten everything that happened almost exactly a year before. Pretty wild. It's way more tame than others here but John Mulaney. He spent years talking about how much he loved his wife so much, never wanted children, and always joked about both those things. Then he cheats on his wife and gets the mistress pregnant. People just kinda gloss over that. He's pretty open with the rehab thing, which is great, but he always seems to dance around the rest of his drama. Mark Wahlberg's hate crimes against Asian and Black people. In 1986, when Wahlberg was 16, a civil rights lawsuit was filed against him after several incidents of harassing black children with racial slurs and throwing rocks at them. The case was ultimately settled. In 1992, he repeatedly kicked a man in the face and fractured his jaw in another case that was settled. Anthony Kiedis of the Red Hot Chili Peppers openly admitting to signing a 14-year-old while in his 20s with no repercussions and being charged with sexual battery in '89? Only to pay fines and no other repercussions. There is a plethora of other accusations against him as well. His birthday just passed and it seems he is loved as ever by almost everyone. People seem to ignore how many musicians from the 60s, 70s, and 80s were blatantly taking advantage of children. Especially the musicians that are popular enough to basically be memes. That stuff probably wouldn't fly today, considering how Drake's texts are seen by the public, but I'm always surprised it isn't brought up more. Mike Tyson is that ex-boxer that talks funny and has his own cartoon show and comedy cameos. Everyone seems to forget he's a convicted rapist, wife beater, and has a rap sheet a mile long for violent assaults. We'll cancel people's entire careers for a tweeted joke that didn't land right, but the rapist wife beater gets a pass. Blueface literally posting his naked child on X. Blueface caught on camera asking his child's son if he's gay because he was not enjoying the strippers in his home. James Charles hitting on minors was very easily forgotten. Also Ariana Grande is doing a good job of brushing her scandal under the rug. Tory Lanez and Meg. Christopher Walken was on the boat when Natalie Wood died but has no recollection of what happened. Also Robert Wagner. Matthew Broderick killed 2 people in a car wreck in Ireland. Morgan Wallen's racist remarks cost him 1 year of his career while Paula Deen lost her entire career for relatively the same thing. Pete Townsend. He is a great songwriter guitarist but is also a dirty nonce. He purchased inappropriate photos of children and when he was arrested and in court he claimed it was for research and got off with it only being put on the sex offender registry. There must have been some brown envelopes handed out. Don Haley having a party at his home. Lots of drugs. There were prostitutes there. Paid for by Henley. Some were underage. A 15-year-old sex trafficking victim had an OD. He pled guilty to contributing to the delinquency of a minor. Paid $2,500 fine and he was on probation for 2 years. It makes me sick. Paul Walker, at the time of his untimely death, was dating Jasmine Pilchard Gosnell. The actor passed away at the age of 40 and Jasmine was 23. However, this is not the disturbing fact. The two began dating when Walker was 33, which reveals the disturbing fact that Jasmine was only 16 at that time. Film reviewer, journalist, and executive in the film business Philip Burke assaulted Brendan Fraser sexually, but he was spared since he claimed it was all in joke and had no sexual intent. If any of us had raised that defense, we would have all been imprisoned underground. Chuck Berry has been lauded as the king of rock and roll. He's also a voyeuristic sicko who installed hidden cameras within the women's restroom of his restaurant. In his even younger days, he also did time for transporting a 14-year-old girl across state lines for sex. John Travolta denying his son medical treatment. Then his son dying from SIDAP. There a very brief scandal with Camila Cabello, where someone found her old Tumblr that was full of extremely racist posts. It lasted about a day and then the public went back to worshipping her. Don't know why she ever got off the hook for that. Recently coming into spotlight, Justin Timberlake forcing Britney Spears to undergo abortion. Crazy how these guys have such successful careers after playing a part in destroying others' health. I don't think he has any remorse for what he did. Matthew Broderick killed 2 people and got off on a lesser charge when it was likely caused by drunk or distracted driving. There was a rumor years ago that he was getting roadhead from his date at the time, Jennifer Grey. Just a rumor. Elvis Presley and Priscilla. Like, why are you all still making movies about this man? You will never convince me he was not a pedophile. Also the fact that he would just blatantly steal people's music and entire flows never sat right with me. Matthew Broderick was driving on the wrong side of the road in Northern Ireland and crashed head-on to a mother-daughter, killing them instantly. He was fined $175 for careless driving. This happened shortly after Ferris Bueller came out. I mean, Chris Brown is still very popular and we all saw what he did to our girl Rihanna. Also big fuck yous to all the NFL players women beaters out there that everyone pretends to forget about, especially if you're fast like a cheetah. Director and child rapist Roman Polanski. He romanced a 15-year-old at 43, then raped a 13-year-old, pled guilty to it, fled France to avoid prison, and has been on the run ever since, still working, still getting awards and praise. I mean, Justin Bieber sang a song about killing people of color using the hard R and joining a triple-letter white supremacist organization. He made an apology and everyone just seems to have forgotten about it. Donald Trump tried to overthrow a general election. A bunch of House Republicans signed on to confirm that the election was bogus. Trump is still walking around free and those other Republicans still hold office. Michael Vick. He's a disgusting pile of trash. He didn't just abuse animals. He tortured them for sport and profited from it. He's fucking sick and he didn't serve his time. He's still idolized, and it's gross. CeeLo Green. The way he straight up admitted to raping people BC thought it didn't count if they were drugged? It was so disillusioning to see him still get features invites media attention after that. John Hamm and what he did to that kid in his fraternity in college. He used a hammer to beat the kid and drag him by the balls across a room or something along those lines. The kid is permanently disabled. Cardi B admitted to getting men to take her home where she would then proceed to drug and rob their homes. All to fund her studio time for her rap career. No better than Bill Cosby, but she's proud of it. James Brown is a pedo. Creeper got caught putting hidden cameras in a woman's bathroom, held someone against their will, and beat a woman so badly that he might have been the cause to her brain cancer. Remember when a 16-year-old girl overdosed in Don Henley's house? He pled guilty to minor misdemeanor charges and then wrote a song about how mean the media was to him? Because I feel like almost no one does. He got his comeuppance now. But R. Kelly in the early 2000s peeing on a 15-year-old girl and recording it. People seemingly forgot and forgave him so quickly. Boondocks did an entire episode about it. Demi Lovato bragging about hiring a lady of the night to sexually assault her bodyguard in his hotel room. And then being angry at people and doubling down when she was immediately called out on it. James Corden coordinated a flash mob in the middle of the road to advertise cats. He forced an ambulance with its lights on to stop and wait, resulting in the death of the person in the back. I've seen a new rise in awareness surrounding it in the last couple years, but for like 30 years no one talked about how Karl Malone knocked up a 13-year-old while he was playing in the NBA. Oh yeah, How about Travis Scott refusing to stop his show while an ambulance drove in front of the stage because people were dying right in front of his eyes? Textbook negligent homicide. Travis Scott, known douchebag for other reasons, had several people literally die at his concert and he didn't care at all. Still is a massive attendance at his shows. Stone Cold Steve Austin beat the shit out of his wife, Deborah 20 years ago. He's still a beloved figure in wrestling, that everyone gets excited to see. Floyd Mayweather beat the shit out of his former girlfriend, and got away with it because the judge allowed him to train for a fight he was headlining. Mark Wahlberg's series of racially motivated attacks and hate crimes. Most notably him blinding an Asian man because he thought he looked Vietnamese. CeeLo Green going viral with a new song on TikTok after drugging a woman, raping her and then saying people who have really been raped remember. I'll say it every time. Mark Wahlberg being a raging evil racist sick fucking everyone, just letting him just skate by without any real consequence. Louis C.K. is pretty close to being on this list. His comedy shows are selling out. He's one TV show appearance away from making a full comeback. NBA player DeMarcus Cousins making the Sacramento Kings take down Lunar New Year of the Monkey t-shirts because he said they were racist. Spielberg and John Landis being responsible for decapitating and crushing child actors and Vic Morrow during the making of The Twilight Zone. Didn't Corey Feldman say Charlie Sheen sexually abused him? I feel like that kinda just died and nobody remembers or did anything about it. David Letterman had a bedroom installed at his studio so he could have sex with interns, and so he could cheat without his wife finding out.